Hey there, you. Ready to seriously step up that communication game at work?
I think we all are.
We're going deep today into a book called Shut Up and Listen.
Ooh, yes, I've heard good things about this one.
It's by Theobald and Carrie Cooper.
Oh, yeah.
And basically, they've pulled together all this wisdom from over 20 communication experts.
Wow, that's a lot of experts.
And they really just break down how to communicate better at work.
I like it.
So we're going to share some of the insights that really blew our minds.
Yeah, some real game changer.
So one of the things that they talk about right off the bat is honesty.
Oh, interesting.
We've always been told to be honest.
Right, be upfront.
But they actually talk about how there's a difference between being truthful and being hurtful.
That's a good point.
So how you're honest really, really matters.
Yeah, I've definitely experienced that myself.
What do they suggest?
Well, they say that, like, if you don't have any tact with your honesty, it can really backfire on you.
Yeah.
So it's not about sugarcoating, but it's about choosing the right time and the right approach.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're giving someone feedback,
Okay.
you can be honest while still being respectful.
All right. And constructive.
Exactly.
So it's like that old saying.
Yeah.
It's not what you say, but how you say it.
It really is all about that.
And that leads into another myth that they bust.
Okay. I love myth busting.
That's charisma.
Ooh, charisma. That's a good one.
A lot of people think that charisma is just something you're born with.
Right. Like, you either have it or you don't.
But the book actually breaks it down and says it's not about that.
Tell me more.
Okay, I'm ready for this.
So they found that charisma is less about being like a dazzling performer and more about empathy and connection.
Oh, that's interesting.
So really understanding your audience and their perspective and their needs and tailoring your message to what works for them.
So it's not about being the loudest person in the room.
Not at all.
It's about making a connection.
That's it.
Okay, I like that.
And then another thing they talk about is tapping into our inner child.
Our inner child.
When it comes to communication.
No, that's a new one.
Yeah, so think about how kids communicate.
Yeah.
They're direct.
Right.
They ask tough questions.
Yeah, they don't hold back.
And they're very open and expressive.
They haven't learned to be afraid yet.
Exactly. And so the book suggests that if we embrace some of those childlike traits, like being more straightforward and asking those tough questions and just being really genuine and authentic, it can actually be more effective in the workplace.
So it's like stripping away all of those layers of pretense and just being open and curious.
I like that.
I like that too.
Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit.
Like ready.
And talk about reading.
Reading.
We all have to read at work.
Yeah.
Especially nowadays, we're bombarded with information.
Emails, articles, reports, it never ends.
It's overwhelming.
It really is.
And so the book gives us some really great advice on how to read smarter.
Okay, because I definitely need that.
I think we all do.
So tell me, how do we do that?
So they say you have to be strategic about what you read.
So some things we read carefully.
Yeah, you really dive deep.
And others we just kind of skim.
Exactly.
But that sounds like it would take more time.
Well, no, because
No.
if you first think about what your goal is, why are you reading this?
Right.
What do you need to get out of it?
Okay.
And then you can adjust your reading style based on that.
That makes a lot of sense.
So, sometimes we just need like the main idea. And other times we need all the details.
Yeah.
So it's about matching your style to your goal.
That's a good way to think about it.
All right. So now let's move on to writing.
Writing.
Okay. So they talk a lot about writing, clearly.
Okay.
And they're really big proponents of plain English.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. I hate it when I'm reading something and it's just full of jargon.
Yeah. Who needs that?
It's like, why can't people just say what they mean? So what do they say?
So they really emphasize that clarity is key. And being concise. So get rid of the jargon and write like you speak.
I love that.
Keep it simple.
Make it accessible to everyone.
That's it.
And then they even give some tips.
Oh, yeah. They have some good ones.
On how to make your writing more interesting.
Oh, I like that.
Like, what are some examples?
Well, one thing they talk about is something called front loading.
Front loading. Okay. I've never heard of that.
Yeah. So you get straight to the point.
Okay.
Like we just did in that last sentence.
Oh, I see.
So you're putting the most important information
up front.
Right at the beginning.
Rather than burying it.
Yeah, like 5 paragraphs down.
Okay, I get it.
It's like serving the main course first.
And the appetizer later.
Right.
Okay, so it's about prioritizing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I like that analogy.
So now let's talk about persuasion.
Persuasion, okay.
I was really interested in this part.
Me too.
Because they talk about advertising.
Oh.
And how it can teach us about persuasion.
That's a good point. I mean, they are the masters of it.
They are.
So what can we learn?
Well, advertising while not always ethical, can teach us how to grab people's attention.
Okay.
And how to craft arguments that are persuasive.
So, like, how do they do that?
Well, think about how ads really target specific audiences.
Yeah.
And they understand their motivations.
Right. What are people looking for?
Yeah, and their desires.
Yeah.
And they use that.
So they're basically doing market research.
Right, exactly.
For communication.
It's like market research for your message.
And figuring out what makes your audience pick.
Exactly.
I like it. Okay, so then they understand the audience.
Right.
And then they craft a message that speaks to that.
Exactly. They speak their language.
Literally and figuratively.
Exactly. Right. I like that.
And then another thing is repetition.
Repetition. Oh, yeah.
Like a catchy jingle.
Yeah, it gets stuck in your head.
Right. And in the same way.
If you repeat something, if you repeat your message,
it's more likely to be remembered.
Exactly. So it's not just about saying the same words over and over.
Right.
But it's about finding different ways to kind of reinforce the same idea.
It's like that saying, tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you're told them.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, that's good.
So this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Okay. I'm excited for more.
There's so much more in this book about listening and phone calls and meetings.
I've got to talk about meetings.
We will.
Okay.
But for now, we'll let our listeners kind of digest all of this.
Yeah, we've thrown a lot at you.
And we'll be back with part 2.
To dive into even more of Shut Up and Listen.
It's a good one.
I think it's going to change your work life.
And your personal life.
And all your relationships.
Absolutely.
We'll see you soon.
Bye.
All right, so welcome back.
I am ready for more.
We're going to keep diving into Shut Up and Listen.
Yes. This is so good.
So last time we talked about honesty and charisma.
And channeling that inner child.
Yeah, I love that.
So what's next?
What else is in this treasure trove of communication gold?
Well, let's talk about listening.
Ooh, listening.
Okay, we all think we're good at it.
We do. We really do.
But are we really?
That's the question.
That's what this book really makes us think about.
Yeah.
And they actually go beyond just like active listening, like the nodding and eye contact and all that.
Yeah. I've been trained on all that.
Right. We all have.
But there's more.
So tell me more.
Yes, tell me more.
Okay, so they say that really good listening involves paying attention not just to the words, but to how they're being said. Well, so the tone of voice, the body language, the pauses, like all of that can tell us so much.
It's like listening with your eyes, too.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not just about the words. It's the whole package.
The whole package. Okay. So it's tuning into those nonverbal cues to really understand the meaning.
And the emotion behind it.
Exactly.
Okay, so how do we get better at this?
Well, they talk about something called reflective listening.
Reflective listening.
Okay, which is more than just paraphrasing.
Right.
It's about reflecting back the emotions.
Oh, the emotions.
You're hearing.
Okay.
So, for example, instead of saying, it sounds like you're frustrated, you might say, I can only imagine how frustrating that must have been.
Oh, so you're validating their feelings.
Exactly. Yeah. It shows that you're really understanding and empathizing.
Okay.
And it makes the other person feel heard.
Heard and validated.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I like that.
What other listening gems do we have?
Yeah, are there more?
So they also talk about listening, not just for the content, but for the intent.
Oh, intent. That's interesting.
Because sometimes, especially at work, people don't always say what they mean.
Well, that's true.
Right? There might be hidden agendas, unspoken anxieties, like things going on beneath the surface.
Right. We've got to read between the lines.
Exactly. So you have to be like a detective.
Well, I like that.
Looking for those clues.
In their tone and their body language.
Exactly.
Wow, this is next level listening.
It is. It really is a skill that can change your relationships.
At work and in life.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. Okay, that's good stuff.
So now let's talk about speaking. Speaking with impact.
Because it's not just what you say.
Right.
But how you say it.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm ready.
So they give some tips on how to speak clearly.
Okay.
And with confidence, whether you're talking to one person or a whole crowd.
Yeah.
And they actually say we should borrow techniques from...
Okay, from where?
The theater.
Theater, really?
I know, right?
Okay.
So they encourage us to use things like suspense.
Suspense.
And humor.
Humor, okay.
And even a little bit of theatrics.
Oh, okay, to make it more interesting.
Exactly, to make those messages more memorable.
Oh, so it's about storytelling.
It's bringing that storytelling element
into our everyday communication.
I that.
Me too. It sounds much better than just droning on and on.
Right.
Okay, so what about phone calls?
Ah, yes, phone calls.
Those can be painful.
They can be.
Especially at work.
Yeah, so the book actually has some good advice for that.
Okay, I'm ready.
And it starts with changing your mindset.
Okay.
So they remind us that even though we can't see the person, every phone call is still a chance to connect. To build that relationship.
To build a relationship over the phone.
Yeah. To get things done.
So it's not just about getting through it.
Right.
It's about making the most of it.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that.
So they give tips on how to plan your calls.
Okay.
And how to deal with those incoming calls. And even how to leave good voicemails.
Okay. I never thought I'd be taking notes on voicemails.
Right.
But here I am.
But they're important.
Okay, so now.
Yes.
The big one. Meetings.
Meetings, oh boy.
The necessary evil.
They can be such a time suck.
They can be so bad.
But the book has some hope.
Okay, tell me there's hope.
There is hope.
Okay.
So they say that meetings, when they're done right, can actually be really useful for making decisions.
Okay.
And getting everyone on the same page.
So how do we do that? How do we make them good?
So they really emphasize having a clear purpose.
Okay, a purpose for the meeting.
Yes, like why are we here?
Okay.
And a good agenda.
Agenda and a time limit.
Oh, time limit, yes, please.
No more rambling.
No more going down rabbit holes.
Exactly.
Right.
And they also give tips on when to talk.
Okay.
And when to listen. And how to deal with conflict.
Because there's always conflict in meetings.
Always.
Okay, good stuff.
All right, so presentations.
Presentations, okay.
Those can be scary.
They can be.
But the book says we should think of them as a chance to really shine.
Okay.
So they give advice on how to structure them.
Okay, how to put them together. To keep people's attention.
Okay.
And guess what?
Right.
Storytelling.
Storytelling again.
I know, right?
It's like the magic bullet.
It is. So storytelling in presentations.
Okay.
And they also talk about how to use PowerPoint effectively.
Oh, yeah.
Because we've all seen those presentations.
Where it's just death by bullet points.
Death by bullet points, exactly.
Okay, so good PowerPoint tips.
Yes.
And then another thing I wanted to touch on is culture.
Ah, yes, culture.
Because they talk about how communication is different in different cultures.
It really is.
What might be polite in one culture could be rude in another.
Exactly. So how do we navigate that?
Yes. What do they say?
So they say, do your research, be observant, ask questions, and be willing to adapt.
Adapt to the culture.
Yeah, to their style.
So it's not just about being aware of the differences.
Right.
It's about bridging the gap.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that.
So it's about being respectful, curious, and flexible.
I like it. Okay, so this is all great.
Yeah.
I'm feeling very inspired.
Me too.
But there's more.
There's one more part where we're going to talk about even more practical strategies.
Okay.
And leave you with some thought-provoking questions.
Ooh, I like it.
So stay tuned.
We'll be right back.
All right, we are back for the final part of our deep dive.
And to shut up and listen.
I know it's gone by so fast.
It really has.
We've covered so much.
Honesty, charisma.
The listening.
All that good stuff.
So much good stuff.
So much.
But before we wrap things up,
yeah,
I wanted to hear what your biggest takeaways were.
Oh, good question.
Like what really resonated with you from the book?
You know what really stood out to me was how they bring everything back to empathy and awareness.
That makes sense.
You know?
Yeah, we've been talking about that.
Really understanding your audience, reading between the lines, being sensitive to different cultures.
Right.
It all comes back to
putting yourself in the other person's shoes.
It really does.
And that kind of ties into another takeaway for me, which is planning.
Planning your communication.
Yes.
Okay.
Because it's so easy.
It is.
To just get swept up in the day-to-day.
Yeah, just react.
Right, and just kind of shoot from the hip.
Yeah.
But taking that time to pause, to think things through, to plan your approach, makes such a difference.
It really does.
Right. So whether it's writing an email or prepping for a meeting or just taking a minute to collect your thoughts before a phone call, planning can really help you be more clear, more intentional with your communication.
Okay. I'm feeling very inspired to be more intentional.
Yeah.
But how do we actually put all of this into practice?
Oh, that's the question, isn't it?
Right.
It's all great in theory.
Yeah.
But what do we actually do?
Yeah.
Well, thankfully, they give us some concrete steps.
Okay, I love concrete steps.
They have 6 strategies.
6 strategies. Okay, I'm ready.
So the first one is convey conviction.
Convey conviction.
Okay.
What does that mean?
Yeah, what does that mean?
It means communicating with passion and authenticity.
Okay.
So you're believing in what you're saying.
You're bringing your full self.
Exactly.
Okay.
The second one is one we've talked about already.
Okay.
But it's worth repeating. Shut up and listen.
Always good advice.
Always good advice, right?
Right.
And they really stress that listening is a skill.
Yeah.
It's not just something that happens.
Right.
You have to be active and engaged.
You have to focus.
You have to focus.
Put the phone away.
Put the phone away.
All of that.
Be present.
Be present. Okay.
Okay, number 3, think before you speak.
Oh, that's a hard one.
It is hard.
Especially when you're in the heat of the moment.
When you're feeling emotional,
Yeah.
it's so easy to just say the first thing that comes to mind.
And then regret it later.
And regret it later, exactly.
So they're reminding us to take a breath,
Okay.
gather our thoughts,
Yeah.
and choose our words carefully.
Okay. That's good advice.
All right, number 4.
Number 4,
Okay.
seek feedback.
Seek feedback. Ooh.
I know it can be tough,
It can be tough.
but it's so important
Yeah.
to help us grow.
Yeah.
So they suggest asking for feedback
Okay.
from colleagues,
Uh-huh.
clients, even friends and family.
On how we communicate.
Yes.
That's a good idea. Okay.
All right, number 5,
Number 5.
be sensitive to culture.
Oh, yeah.
We talked about this.
We did.
It's so important to remember that communication styles are different
Yeah.
across cultures.
Yeah.
So they give us a lot of tips
Yeah.
on how to navigate those differences.
Okay.
And then finally,
Finally.
number 6, be yourself.
Oh, I love that one.
Right.
Yes.
It might seem counterintuitive
Yeah.
after all this talk about adapting and being sensitive to others.
Yeah.
But authenticity is so important.
It is. It's about bringing your whole self
Yeah.
to your communication.
To your communication being genuine.
Exactly.
Okay. I love it.
And I think that's a perfect way to end
I think so too.
our deep dive into shut up and listen.
I feel like I've learned so much
Me too.
about how to communicate better at work and my relationships.
Yeah, in life.
It's in life.
like all aspects of life.
It's really a game changer.
It is.
So to all of our listeners,
Yes.
we highly recommend
Highly recommend.
checking out Shut Up and Listen.
Yeah, you won't regret it.
You won't regret it.
All right.
Until next time,
Keep those communication channels open.
we'll see you soon.